सर मैडम ने कौन ज्वाइन थे 11 वाली?
हाँ 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 हाँ। मैडम वैशाली में
हाँ सर।
ओके स्टार्ट करिए कुछ।
हाँ. Hello, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today we are
હેલો મેડમ,
presenting. हाँ.
વૈશાલી મેડમ
हाँ.
લાઈવ થઈ જાય પછી કરજો.
ઓકે
Okay,
બરાબર.
સારું.
યસ મેમ, સ્ટાર્ટ.
Okay. Hello, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today we are presenting webinar on simplifying research with statistical software, which is organized by Applied Science and Humanities Department of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. If you have any questions during this webinar, you can WhatsApp on the number 70163901124 or 98980 38375. I would like to introduce today's presenter, Dr. Medha Wadhwa. She is currently working as assistant professor with subject of healthcare management at Sumandip Vidyapit. She is having the key strength in designing research methodologies for healthcare researches and data handling. She is also working as secretary at Sumandip Vidyapit Bioethics Unit. We welcome you, madam. Shall we start with the presentation, ma'am? Medha, madam.
ओके ओके स्टार्ट.
Shall we start with, madam, the presentation?
योर वॉइस इज नॉट स्टार्ट कर. हाँ स्टार्ट कर. Hello. Hello. ओके, ना ना लैपटॉप भी कनेक्ट कर लो। हेलो मैडम। हेलो। हेलो पर मैडम यहाँ पर आवाज़ ही नहीं आ रही, आप जो प्रेजेंटेशन में आवाज़ नहीं आ रही ऐसा। नहीं नहीं लैपटॉप से चलेगा, पर आप ऐसा हो तो एक बार बंद करके फिर से कनेक्ट। हाँ 1 मिनट। हाँ ऐसा करो, ऐसा हो कोई बात नहीं। आप हाँ फिर से आप रिकनेक्ट कर लो तो देख लेते, क्योंकि आवाज़ नहीं आ रही आपकी इसलिए।
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. It is audible.
Okay, sir. Can you see the screen also, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll be starting with this, or
Yes.
have I missed out on this slide also?
Yes, madam. First slide is, I think, missed out.
Fine. In these times when I was talking about statistics and we want to simplify the research for statistics. So when we want to do that, there are so many things available and there are so many things that has to be done. First, we need to be very clear with the basics. So when we want to learn statistics, we can do, so many wonderful things with it. We can present our data so well. We can get so much of nice conclusions through the research that we have done. Sometimes we do not even imagine that this could be the outcome of our research. So learning of statistics is definitely important when we want to carry out a research. And when I talk about this, these both are heavy terms. I do not intend to bog you down with these using these words repeatedly, but then this is the need of the hour. And when I use the word statistics, I think things that come in your head is only some big graphs, some big numbers. That means a lot of major calculations. That is not the intention of this webinar. The webinar intends that we want to simplify the research. We just do not want these numbers, do not want how we can, simplify this. So when I talk about statistics, let's have some theoretical definition of what is statistics, and then we'll see how this theoretical definition can be eased out by using the correct processes, by using the correct techniques. So what is statistics? It is the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting data in order to make decisions. So when we want to make decisions, so we need to collect some data, organize, analyze, and interpret. Now, what do we mean by data? In data is information that is coming from observation, counts, measurements, or responses. So now these responses, these observations, these counts, from where will we get these observations? We'll be getting this from the research that we are going to conduct. We might have so many objectives, at this point of time I might be able to know that what is the psychological impact of people staying at home. I want to know the psychological impact of COVID-19 on the psychological state of the people. I want to know the impact on this. So I may have some questionnaire with me and I'll give it to the people. And when I'll give it to the people, I'll get their responses. Now this response becomes my data. Now, what all can I do with data? What all and how I can play with the data using correct statistical techniques is the answer, and that is what is going to make our research easy. And that is why it is very important to learn some basic concepts of research. We cannot just design any random questionnaire. We should not ideally be even, we actually, what do we do is that we search on Google. That is the most common platform available to all of us. We do it, we download some questionnaires and we try to implement it in our research or in our area of work. That is not the correct process. And even while designing the questionnaire, right from the start of research, if you know, and it is not, it is generally a perception कि data collect होने के बाद we'll see कि क्या statistics लगेगा. No, it starts from the day of defining your objectives, the time you want to identify your problem and what outcome you want to measure. When you do this, that is where the work of statistics start. And it is important to know this, right? As I have said again and again, and this is what I thoroughly believe in also. If you want to excel in research, if you want your research to be applicable, to be implementable, and to be generalized, it is very important to understand some basic concepts of research, some basic concepts of statistics, and use the correct design, use the correct tools and techniques for use of statistics. And that is where statistics and research are related. As I said, that I want to know the impact of COVID-19 on the psychological, COVID-19 times on psychological mindset of the people. Now, I want to study this. I have the questionnaire. I send it through Google form to all the people in Vadodara. And after that, I get their responses. Now, these responses, what I'll do, I just want to see that how many people are under stress. No, but then at other point of time, I may want to check how these are different from one another. If I am a 30-year-old person and somebody else is a 20-year-old person, there might be a 5 or 6-year-old person at somebody's place. Now, are the psychological or will the psychological impact be same? No, it won't be. It would vary among age groups. It would vary among the gender. It would vary among the socioeconomic status. So there will be so many factors that I can relate, and I can make my research more beautiful and more generalizable by saying that, okay, these are the factors that affect the psychological well-being of a person. That may be related to gender. It may be related to socioeconomic status. It may be related to the profession you are in. Now, it cannot be the same for a healthcare and non-healthcare professional. So there would be so many things that could be done with this kind of knowledge of statistics. And this is how we can implement this in research and make it more implementable. If I want to make it, and see, that is the basic and ultimate aim of doing a research. It is, there are small objectives that come in the way, that we want to publish it, we want to present it, but at the end of the day, we want that our research should be implementable. There should be people following our research. It should be so well organized and well presented that our research is being used. So when I say a lot about research, I want to know what is research, right? So what is research? There are so many things a research is doing, and these are the steps. These are the steps by which we conduct a research. We have a problem. We see an opportunity. Now, I have seen an opportunity that people are staying at home, they are not able to work, and they are not able to go outside. So it's an opportunity for me to see that, okay, is this affecting their well-being? Is there affecting their psychological state? So I have a problem in hand. Now I will be making a systematic inquiry. Now, what do we mean by systematic inquiry? I have a problem and I simply start representing it through a questionnaire? No. I have to do a systematic inquiry on it. Now, that, what do we mean by systematic inquiry? It means I need to go through some previous review of literature. I might have to go some previous questionnaire designs. I'll have to look back into past researches that has been carried out either on the same topic or on a related topic, and how I can use those topics, or how I can use those literature in defining my problem, or in more beautifully defining my problem. So I will get an idea of, yes, these are the factors that are affecting, or that had affected in earlier times. Now let me see whether these factors are implementable now. And there might be some add-on factors that I can definitely add. Now, after going through this review of literature, I may get some gap. Now, I may identify some literature gap. There might have been done a research on this topic since 10 years back, and there has not been a research done in these 10 years. So I want to do a research in these years, or like on the current topic also. So again, that is that is another gap that has been identified, and it will help me in defining my questionnaire or my data collection tool. It could be any tool. I'm not talking only about questionnaire. It could be through a form, it could be through a performa. You can give a schedule, you can tell the people to fill it up, you can fill it up on their behalf. आप phone पे उनसे बात कर, like you can talk to them on phone, and you can get their responses and do it on their behalf. So there are a lot of things, that tools available for doing a systematic research. After you have done a systematic research through literature review, you have collected the tools, you have the questionnaire ready, and you have distributed the data collection tool among your sample of interest, and you have their responses with you, you would like to now establish and validate the facts. Now, when I want to establish and validate the facts, what do I want to do? I want to check whether whatever data I have collected. Now, when I talk about that, I have collected 100 sample, or people, I have collected data from 100 people. I need to see that, yes, okay, because if you will see that it would be a list of numbers, right? If I have their age group listed, there would be 30, 32, 34, 25, 26, then this would be a list of numbers. How is this making it reliable? How is this making it sense? So I need to establish these facts. I want to solve the problem and present a new knowledge, and this is where the statistics helps you. Statistics helps you in data analysis and interpretation, which is the validation of facts and solving the problem. So when we talk about these two steps of research, of validating the facts and solving the problem, I need the help of data analysis. What I mean is doing data analysis and its interpretation, and it is possible only through statistics. So this is here, or where it helps us. As I've said earlier, what is data? It is what we collect from people, right? It is what we collect. The responses that we get from the people is data. Now, this data, actually, when you integrate this data, it results in an information. As I told you, I have collected data from 100 people. Now, these 100 people, each I have listed down in an Excel sheet. Now, I have the list of 100 people's age. Now, this 100 people's age is just numbers. Like, there are 100 numbers there in an Excel sheet. Does it make sense? No. I want to gather an information out of it. I want to see what is the range, what is the minimum age group that has been a part of my research, and what is the maximum age group that has been a part of my research. So that is an information that I'll get from it. Now, this information will help me in assessing that whether, because of age, I can have, or is there a difference in psychological impact because of age group? Are younger age group or elder people are more vulnerable, or the middle age group is more vulnerable, who is habitual of going out and having more of social meetings and all? Are they more vulnerable? So I will have a knowledge out of it. This knowledge would eventually, when I'll present it in a research in a well-defined format, it will result in wisdom. Wisdom, I mean that it will help me in predicting, or it will help me in defining some models of stress measurement, or of factors which are affecting the stress. It will help in gaining of wisdom. So when I start with as small as data and see how much it can contribute in creating a new knowledge, in creating a new wisdom. Now, this is how it is helpful in creating a new wisdom. As I says, research is very it seems complex, right? But when we talk about this webinar, and when the objective is that we want to simplify this complex data, I have the list of 100 people. See, 100 might seem a small number. Fine, if I have 300 people and I have the list of age of 300 people, can you make sense out of it, that list? No, you cannot make sense from that list. What do we want? We want to simplify that data. We want to convert that data into some information so that we can make some decisions out of it. We want to measure the risk. We want to see that how this data can help in predicting uncertainty. Is it helpful in predicting uncertainty? How is it able to justify past and emerging patterns? How is it helpful in forecasting? Again, a major portion of statistics right now is dealing with forecasting. You have most of us are using this Arogya Setu app, right? And they ask us to self-assess. When we talk about self-assessment, they ask us some questions and the answer comes. How do you think it is possible? They are taking our data, fitting it into some kind of a model, and they're helping us give this answer. So there is no person who is sitting there and helping you and assessing you that actually you are ill or not. But then they have developed a model in which they are trying to forecast somebody's illness or not. So it might be statistically sound. It depends clinically or not. We're not going ahead with that, but then it depends on what kind of assumption do you want to make, or what kind of forecasting do you want to make. So there is a lot of things that you can do with research. You can do a lot of these things with data. Now, when again we talk about data, it visualizes the data. We have various models, creates knowledge. It makes us in understanding some problems and help us in solving those problems and help us in making the decisions. Now, the cycle continues and continues, and that is why we want to make some meaningful information from our data. When we want to make some meaningful information out of our data, I've said so many times data. Now, data is just the responses that we have collected from any kind of a data collection tool. Now, this data collection tool could be used on 300 people. Now, from 300 people, how can I make some meaning out of the data of 300 people? I need some help, right? And this is how it looks. It looks, you cannot make any sense out of it. These are just some list of numbers, and it looks that you're lost in those world of stars and you do not have anything to, how do you want to go ahead with it? You cannot make any sense out of it. And that is where statistics will help you. That is where it will help you. And before we go ahead with what all statistics would be doing or software would be helping you out in, we need some common terminologies that has to be clear in our head. The first common term that I again would be using frequently is variable. What do we mean by variable? Variable means any property that we are studying. It means the property that we want to study. Now, as of now, I am going ahead with the same example. I want to study the impact of COVID-19 time on the psychological well-being of an individual. I want to study the psychological well-being. So my variable is psychological well-being. That is what I want to study. I want to study it in based on gender. So again, the second variable becomes gender, which could be male or female. Now, when I talk about variable, it could be dichotomous or it could be continuous. When I talk about dichotomous or continuous, it means dichotomous means that I can have two options or I can have multiple options, or third, it could be a continuous variable. Continuous variable means that it could be in the form of numbers. So it could be simply in the form of numbers, for example, age. You can just ask the people their age. Now, age becomes a continuous variable. It could be gender. Gender could be male or female. Now, that becomes a dichotomous variable. I want to study the psychological impact on a 5-point scale from very high. Now, 1 means very high, 2 means high, 3 means average, 4 means low, and 5 means very low. On this 5 scale, I want people to check or tick on the option that they find relevant, which defines their psychological stress. Now this 5 points or these 5 options are again my variable, and this is how again helping me assessing it. Now this variable could be dichotomous, it could have multiple options, or it could be continuous. It could be now population. The second terminology is population. Population is the element on which I want to make an inference, or I want my research to be applicable to. I want to study the psychological impact of, for example, healthcare professionals, yeah, psychological impact of general population. Can I take all the population of Vadodara? Can I take each and every individual of Vadodara? Is it feasible? No, it is not feasible. And for population, I mean, this is what I want to implement my research on. My research will be implemented. The results of my research will help this population. But because of time feasibility, because of economic issues, I may not be able to take all these population or all these elements in the population. I cannot take all the citizens of Vadodara. So what I intend to do, I'll take a sample out of it. Can I take a sample of Bharuch or Ahmedabad when I want my research is focused on the population of Vadodara? No. So the key point is your sample has to be a representative of the population. Your sample has to be from the area or from the same population on which you intend to make your research applicable on. That is the key element when you want to choose your sample. Now this sample can be related or independent. What do we mean by related sample or independent sample? Related sample means something, for example, I will just twist the objective of my research and I'll ask the same 100 or 300 people that what was the psychological impact before, was psychological well-being before COVID-19 time and after COVID-19 time. So I have before and after. I am collecting it from the same individual but 2 times. So I have 2 variables, before psychological impact and after psychological impact. These 2 variables are related. They are related to each other. Why? Because they are from the same individual. If I want to check the psychological impact on different individual or on the basis of gender, now different male and female would be different. So my sample becomes independent. So what all things that I have to keep in mind when I'm talking about collecting the data is key. First, how many variables I'll be taking. Second, is this the population I want to target on? And third, whether my sample is representative of the same population or not. And if yes, whether it is related or independent, whether it belongs to are the same individuals being contacted 2 times or 3 times for the same questions, or it is like different individuals, they have no relation with each other, like male, female, different age group people. So that becomes my independent sample. When I talk about data, now again, this data can be quantitative or qualitative. When we talk about quantitative, it is something which is in numbers, and qualitative means something which is in words. As I say, what is the level of stress during COVID-19 times? From very low to very high. Now, very low is 1. I may have represented very low with a number 1, but as of now, I'm asking the questions in the qualitative form. I'm asking them to express it in words. Now, that makes my data qualitative data. It could be a simple 1 word, or again, we have qualitative researches where you can have a long answer on some question. So as of when we talk about application of statistics, we need the data to be quantifiable. We cannot have data which is in words, in like it's a long answer. Usko quantitative form mein convert karna is difficult. So qualitative form mein simple words like very low, very high, they can be converted to numbers. I can denote very low with 1. I can denote low with 2. Average with 3. So I can denote some words with numbers. So I am talking about that kind of a qualitative data where I can convert it into some quantitative number and help in the statistical analysis. When I'm talking about qualitative data, as I said, it needs to be quantifiable, means it needs to be converted to number, because statistics, as we have seen earlier, is talking about numbers only. So we have nominal and ordinal, two kinds of data or two types of data that are available that helps in assessing what kind of data do we have. Why it is important to know? Why do we have to know? I'm talking about the webinar is on software, right? So why do we want to know nominal and ordinal, or what this basic has to be there? I want to know this because software will take in what I'll give it to the software. Software needs to be updated with knowledge, or it has to be updated with what, like it's you who knows your data well, you who know that it's nominal or ordinal, it is qualitative or quantitative. So you have to tell the software, the rest the software will handle. So these basic concepts needs to be clear when we want to run a software. 1 hour won't be sufficient in knowing how the software operates, but still we'll try to have a gist of how a software would look like. Before going ahead with that, let's focus on what kind of data we have. So we have two kinds of data, nominal and ordinal data. Nominal data is the simplest form of data. It means that your data can be very simple. I can just ask you your Aadhaar number, your PAN card number. Does those numbers, your PIN code, these are some numbers, but can I add your PIN code and my area PIN code and make a number out of it? No, it will not make sense. My roll number and your roll number can be added and we can say that 1 plus 2 is equal to 3 roll number. No, it cannot be there. So that is a nominal number. It just means a list. We can, because it's a list, we can convert it to number. So for example, my name is ABC and somebody is DEF. Now I becomes roll number 1 and the other becomes roll number 2. Now one represents ABC. So I am representing a word. I am representing something with a number. That is what PIN code is doing. It is representing an area with that number. Does not mean that we can have that we can add those two numbers or multiply or divide those two numbers and we can get some new area. No, we cannot. So nominal is the simplest form of data. It represents the list. We cannot do any calculation on it. What we can maximum do is counting. What all we can count? We can count, okay, how many people have said yes? How many people have said no? Again, that's a nominal data. Either it's yes or no. You do not have much options, right? Either it's a male or a female. You do not have much option. Male can be 1, female can be 2. Does this mean if male is 1 and female is 2, is male better than a female? No, it does not mean that. It just means that I have used number 1 to represent male and number 2 to represent female. Area, I have used, for example, the code of 11092 or 11391,760 as an area to represent, for example, one represents Ahmedabad, the second represents Vadodara. Now that is where I can use, that kind of data is a nominal data. Ordinal data. The second type of data is ordinal data. As its name suggests, it is more in order. As we talked about stress, from very low to very high, it is slowly increasing. That is in order, increasing order. That is an ordinal data. So that is ordinal data. Again, we cannot do much calculations with the ordinal data. We can have more of frequency and we can have a comparison that who said yes, or like who said low stress or who said high stress. So we can have this kind of a comparison. This was all about qualitative data. We can convert these two kinds of data into numbers. As I've told, very low can become 1, low stress can become 2, and very high stress can become 3. So based on that, we can have this data. The next kind of data is quantitative data, where everything is in numbers. And the two kinds of data which is in numbers or which can be expressed in numbers are interval and ratio data. Software just says number. For the software, there is no distinction between interval and ratio numbers. It will treat it as one. But just for theoretical clarity, there is a difference between interval and ratio data. What do we mean by interval data? And interval data can extend from negative to positive, and where 0 does not mean 0. Like it is absolute. It is not absolute. For example, if I say a 0-degree temperature is there, does that mean that there is no temperature in that region? No. It means it's more cold there. It's more chilly there. That is interval data. While ratio data means 0 is 0. So we cannot have all the kinds of data as numbers. We can classify them for software purpose as numbers, but then it is theoretically it can be classified as interval and ratio. A very simple example: how much money is in your wallet? And if you want to say zero number in your wallet, or zero rupees in your wallet, then that means zero. Zero means zero, and that is a ratio data. Interval data may ratio 0 does not means 0. So that is where it needs to be seen, and the theoretical clarity on these 4 levels of data must be there when we want to run our data on software to get better results. When we want to collect the data, now this data, how will it come from? Okay, we'll know what is nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio data. I want to know how do I collect that data? I want to collect it through primary or secondary means. Now, what do we mean by primary and secondary means? Primary means that it comes from the source itself. You go out and ask the questions to them directly. That's a primary data. Secondary data means you go through medical records, you go through past records, newspapers, literature, and you gather the results from them. You gather the reports from them, and that is where you classify the data. It could be through either of them. This be Taraka source you use. Like you can use any of these primary or secondary sources of data for data collection, and you will get some data. When we talk about data, okay, we've got the data. Now I want to use it in a software. Can I use it as such? No, I need to code my data. As I told you, I cannot write male and female to a software. A statistical software means a software which runs on numbers, and it wants everything in number. You give something in words, it will not accept. It will accept, but it cannot do anything about it. Why? Because it's a statistical software which is working on numbers, for numbers, and giving you numbers. So you want to code your data, something which is in words. Now I'll start with a question that I have. Suppose a researcher wants to check in the rural community that whether there is any relationship between weight and academic performance for a 10th standard student. And this is how he has collected the data. As I was talking about primary source of data, right? So this is a primary source of data. He has given this software to he has given this tool to the people, and they are ticking on their options. So they have entered. I have got 7 responses from them, and these are the names of the people. These are the respective gender of the people. The weight, their weights have also been mentioned, and academic performance. As you see, academic performance is on very poor, poor, average, good, and very good. So they have to tick on whatever is relevant to them. And they have used it. I have tabulated it. I have used simple Excel. I have clicked a screenshot of that, and I have made this entry of each respondent. Now I want to put this in statistical software. Can I put it like this? No, I cannot put it like this. As I've told you, it wants to work only on numbers. So I need to convert some things on numbers. For which variable do you think coding will be required? Anything which is in numbers or in words, sorry. So I have, first I'll go column wise, right? So I have serial number. Do I want or do I intend to do any calculations on that? No, but still I want to take it to the software so that I can always refer that whether I have copied the same numbers or not. Here it's only 7. For example, it's the rate of 700 people. I would definitely be needing the serial number to refer if I've missed out on some values or not. The second is name. Can I code name? Even if I code it, will it make any sense? No, it will not make sense. So I will leave it as it is. Next is gender. And there are two options, male and female. Can I code it? Yes, I can code it. It is on this coding scheme. I can code male as 1 and female as 2. So I can code them as 1 and 2. The next column is of weight. It's already in numbers. Do you think the coding is required? No, coding is not required. Next is academic performance. From very poor to very good. It is similar for all of them. Can I use some numbers to represent it? Yes. So I have used 1 for very poor, 2 for poor, 3 for average, 4 for good, and 5 for very good. Now, wherever these things would be there, I'll be replacing them with their respective codes. And this is how my data is going to look like when I want to enter it into a software. So this is the primary requirement to know that yes, this is what I have to do with my data. Now I want to tabulate it. I want to analyze it. So once data set is edited, now you have edited for coding, you want to, or it is ready for the statistical analysis, and you want to import this data set, this Excel file into a software and go ahead with statistical analysis. So what are the commonly used statistical softwares? Do we have access to all of them? No, I do not have access to all of them. So what all we have, there are a lot of statistical softwares available. There might be SPS. There is one of them which is most commonly being used, that is SPSS. Then we have SysStat, and the most common that is being used right now a lot of times is R software. So we can use any of these software to do our research, or to see that whether it will result in good output or not. So that is how I can go ahead with it. So I want to go ahead with some software. These are some names that you should be familiar with. Otherwise, SPSS is a paid software. You can get its free trial on its website for 15 days. R is a free software that is available. SysStat is a paid version, but this SysStat has a free version for students. It's a very friendly software and similar to SPSS, and it is being used for the people, for the students, generally for the student community. They have started it. So there is MyStat software from the SysStat that is available for free and for the student community. So you can use these softwares freely. How do you start with a software? So I'll be picking up one software. I have the access to SPSS software, so I'll be picking up with that. Now this SPSS software, how do we start ahead with the SPSS software? So what do? I'll click on Windows. I'll go to Programs. I'll click on IBM SPSS. It will look like this. When it looks like this, what do I have to do? I'll have to click on cross. I have this kind of a screen available to me. This kind of a screen is similar to Excel. As I said, it is almost similar to Excel. It just needs, like, there will be the columns and the rows. Now these vertical things are known as columns, and these columns will have different variables like age, gender, psychological impact. The data that we wanted to enter was weight, academic performance. So every column will have these entries. And we have the rows. These rows will have the answers, or will have the values for each of the respondents. These respondents will be used, and we can have the data here. This was what I was talking about, data view. You can see here, there is data view. So this data view will look like this. This is where the data will be represented. Then when we click here, we'll have variable view. Now this variable view will have these kind of entries: name, type, width, decimal, label, values, missing, columns, align, measure, and row. We do not want to do much with it, but yes, there are things that we must be knowing. Now, what these things are, I'll just tell you. See, this is a menu bar. There are some shortcuts available. We can use these shortcuts to create graphs. We can compare. We can use it to know the recent tabs that are there. And then we can know that our software is ready and it is being working when it says ready. Now, this is where we want to start our operations on, and we want to edit our data. Now I want to enter this following data in SPSS. I have the name of the people, their gender, the branch of study ABC, and English proficiency on a 1 to 5 scale from very low to very high, and their salary. Now we'll just go through a brush up of the levels of data and you'll see how does it work in a software. Now this gender, do you think name works for me? No. Can I code it? No. Gender, male, female. Can I code it? Yes. 1 and 2. And it is what kind of data? It is a nominal kind of data. Branch A, B, and C. Again, a simple list of branch does not mean science is better than humanities or humanities is better than commerce. No, it just means that there are three branches of people who are available with us, and we have mentioned whatever branch they follow in. English proficiency from 1 to 5 ka scale, where 1 means very low and 5 means very good skill or very good proficiency in English. And this is how we have classified it, and we can definitely code it. Salary is already in numbers, so does not require coding. So I have coded my data, and this is how it looks like. Now I want to enter the manuals and I want to save the file. I have saved the file and now I want to open it, and I'll click on this. I can very well import the data from the Excel file. So I have entered this data in Excel. I will click on file. I'll click on open and I will have sample data. I'll click on open and my data will come. See, this is how it will look like. So all my entries which were there in the first column of the Excel, the first row of the Excel mein, the first row is always like, you always mention serial number and all. So it will come here in this form. So these are all my variables. The second is type, as I have mentioned. Now you'll see type, all are numeric. Now one is string. What is string? String means qualitative data. Software write it as string. So I have string written here. The rest I have coded, so it has mentioned numeric. Do not have much to do with width and decimals. So I'll go ahead with label. Now label here means I can enter on my own what I want to be the output. For example, I want, when I'm doing the research and when my output has come, I do not want this variable grad to look like grad on my output table. Definitely output table has to look nice, right? So I cannot use grad here. I have differentiated with graduation stream or discipline. So I can do it like this. The other thing says values. The other column is values. Now here where I enter the values, that is what all codes I have given to them. So I can use this codes here. I have mentioned the code here. Missing and columns alignment is talking about if there are any missing values. So no. How many columns does it fit in? So this is what it is. Alignment is also, again, which alignment is it, the data is. And see here, measure. Now this is what I was talking about, and that is why this is where you have to enter. A drop down will come when you will click on here. A drop down will come and it will ask you whether it's a nominal data, ordinal data, or scale data. I've told earlier the software does not distinguish between interval and ratio data. For it, it is a scale data. So you can always set it as nominal, ordinal, and scale data. The same kind of things is applicable in if you do not have SPSS available, and if it is for a 15 days trial period, you can always do it on MyStat, freely available software, which is again in a similar fashion. It just means that there are some green here apart from blue. So the combination is different color combination, but otherwise it works on a similar lines as SPSS software. So this is how I will define my all variables that I want to study in the variable view. So I will be clicking on variable view, and this is how it will look like. And this is how it is going to look like in data view. Now this is my data view, and I have collected this much of data, and this is how it is looking like. I hope this is clear. So once we have entered the data in our software and we have defined what kind of variables are there, we need to save this file for future references. So similar manner, we click on file, we can click on save, and we click on wherever we want to click, wherever we want to save the file. I want to save it on desktop, and I have to save the file as Excel, or I want to save it as SPSS only. So I'll click on save, and my file is saved. Now my file is saved, right? So I'll forget about it. Now all of you also forget about it. Now I want to do something with the data, right? So what all I can do with it? The first is very simple, that I want to go with measures of central tendency. That means it is the basic or the minimum thing that we can go ahead with when we're practicing statistics. We can go ahead with simple counting, mean, and defining what is the central value, so that it helps us in knowing ki, okay, around about this is how the data will look like. The first measure of central tendency is mode. Now mode is the data which is most frequently being reported, or the most which is being more frequently coming. It is generally for counting, right? कौन सा number बहुत, like it is coming for a lot of times. Which number is coming for a lot of times. Now that is what is a nominal level of data would look like. Now I have an example. For example, there is the population of university were asked how much time they take to report to the university authorities, and I have this much of minutes, like some said 15 minutes it takes, some says 14 minutes, some says 10 minutes. Now I have this list of minutes. I want to check the mode on it. Can I? Yes, I can. I know I'll count these and I'll say, okay, the mode is 10 as it is coming 3 times. So the maximum number of times the people take to report to the university authorities is 10 minutes. But this is not sufficient, right? And it is not enough. All our data, it is used mainly for nominal data. So we cannot use it mainly for nominal data. We might have other kind of data. So that is the other kind of data is ordinal data. And that is where median is used. Median is generally used and is used to divide our data into 2 equal parts. It is in an order manner from 1 to 5. So definitely there is going to be a center point. Median means what is that center point where half of the data lie, where 50% of the data lies. That is the median. Next is mean. It is used for scale data. You all would be familiar with it. It is generally denoted by X bar or mu. Mu is used when you have used population. That means you have collected the data from all the people of your class. There were 10 people in your class, there were 100 people in your class, and you've collected the data from all of them. You've not taken any sample, and your research is for your class, wants to be generalized on your class only. So that is a population. But I do not have resources available, and I do not want to do it on 100 people. I want to do it on a sample, maybe of 10 or 20. So I will use sample mean. The symbol, the formula remains the same. It's the symbol that changes. So it is X bar or mu. Now I have this data, right? I have a serial number, gender, stress level, and pulse rate. Gender is 0 and 1, where 0 means male and 1 means female. Can I use mean in this? Does mean make sense? Software will give you, because it is in numbers, you'll click on mean and it will give you mean for gender. So my software has given me the output of 0.5. Does it make sense? No. Does median make sense? No, because there is no 50%. There is no orderly manner. The data is not arranged in an order fashion. So there is no sense of 50% also. Can I use mode? Yes, I can use mode. The maximum number of people in my data are males, or they are females, because it's 1, which is being most frequently reported. So I can use mode. The second is stress level. 1 is very low, 2 is average, and 3 is very high stress. Can I use mean? No. Can I use median? Yes, I can use median, because there would definitely be a center point of that order manner, and that center point is 2. So 50% of the people would have said 2 if we talk about stress. So that is the center point of my data. Pulse rate, it is all in numbers. So what is more applicable? Does mean median make sense here? No. What makes sense here is mean. That on an average among 7 people, almost all of them on an average have 78.28 ka mean pulse is there. So that is what is the value of mean is. Okay. Now this statistics has important role in determining the existing position, and there are a lot of things that can be done with statistics, and we can apply it on a lot of other areas also. Now these areas, apart from this, we have a lot of apart from this descriptive statistics, there is another branch of statistics that deals with data, and that is inferential statistics. Now this inferential statistics is dealing with what it can be generalized on, what all we can generalized on, and what all can be the inference of that statistics, and that is known as hypothesis testing. When I talk about hypothesis testing, now I have this basic set of data that is there in front of you. There is stress level and there is pulse rate. I want to see, I know that on an average the pulse rate is 78.28 beats per minute is the pulse rate, and now I want to see that whether this pulse rate is different for males and females, so whether this gender has a role to play in difference of pulse rate or not. So when I want to do that, then what comes into picture is hypothesis testing or inferential statistics. Now that is where the second part, now this is what was descriptive statistics, the second part of statistics is inferential statistics. Now all these things, you imagine that now I have in front of you data of 7 people, but if I had the data of 300 people, how it would have made it easier for you to calculate the average? You would have taken the sum of it, you have calculated it, and then would have divided it by the total number of individuals in your sample. Now this would have made more tedious. Have I ever in my this 1 hour of presentation told you about any of the formula? No, I didn't, and I do not intend to also. We should not use the formula. What we are interested in, that we should know what is a data, what are the levels of data, how I can use this data to define my tool or define my data collection, things that I have collected in my data, and this software will help me in giving the output. I need to be clear with my basics so that I get what this software is giving me. I can understand and interpret what does it mean, right? So shall I continue with the presentation, or I have time?
Okay, madam.
Shall I continue? Because I think it's
Okay, 10 minute continue first.
10 minutes can be extended. Fine. I would like to share another this thing with the viewers. Just give me a moment. So apart from that, what do I intend to do is that I want to see that how my how my data would be it would be used, right? How I can use it to understand that various things are available in my research. And I was talking about hypothesis testing, so I want to know that how I can use this hypothesis testing, how I can use it to interpret my data. I can know the difference is there or not, whether I can use it to check the difference between male and female is there. Definitely the average is 78.28. Data से भी मुझे दिख रहा है कि male के कितना है and how much pulse rate is there for female. So I can take that things from the from this. But is it too simple? No, it is not. I want to know that statistically does it have any significance or not. I can see from the data collected that which one has more and which one has less. So I can always do that. But I want to check whether it can be done or not. So for that, my research will generally have different objectives, right? It might be that I want to, as I was telling you, I want to compare that whether there is difference in pulse rate between males and females, whether they have a relation, whether it is associated, whether some treatment was effective or not. I gave some health education to some people. I want to check that whether it was effective or not. I want to check an influence of some variable, and or I want to predict. And this is what is happening right now. No, they are helping us in protecting our wellness, the apps and all. So that is where these research or these statistics have been used, and it has been used through softwares. Again, I said comparison could be done between a benchmark, it could be between two groups, or it could be between more than two groups. We'll see how it is done, and that is where hypothesis testing will be taking care of it. So what do we mean by hypothesis? It is something that I want to check on. It is a simple statement that comes out from my research objective. So my research objective would have been to check the psychological stress of the people. The second could be to check whether there is any difference in the psychological stress between males and females. Now I want to check this difference between males and females. Now that is my hypothesis. That is what I want to check, and that is where it will be helpful. Now, I'll not be going into writing of hypothesis right now, but otherwise there is null and alternate hypothesis. Statistical hypothesis is generally null and alternate. I always want to prove my alternate hypothesis. If nothing is happening, why would I do a research, right? So as a researcher, I always want, yes, कुछ difference होना चाहिए, that there has to be a difference between males and females, then only my research will be fruitful. If there is no difference, then why would somebody do my research, or why would somebody read my research or implement my research? So I would like to have an alternative hypothesis being checked on, and that is where I will see that which is rejected, null or alternate, and this is how I report it. Not be going in much of the details, just want to go ahead with how do I react, or how do I see when a software is being presenting, and there are so many things that a software can do. Now I talk about hypothesis testing. See, it could do so many things. I can have different objectives, and I can have association, difference, effect, correlation, and comparison. I can compare with a benchmark. I can compare weight and exam performance is related or not. I can check which is more effective, drug A or drug B, whether there is any difference in stress level between males and females. So in this way, I can check. How do I check? I have these tests of significance, parametric and non-parametric tests. Now, these parametric tests, I don't want to scare you with these names, but again, we don't have to remember these names. We just have to see where they are applicable. And how do we know where they are applicable? We should know the level of data. We know how to measure. We know how to decide whether our data is nominal, ordinal, or interval. We can do it. Whether it's one sample, two sample, or k sample, we can come to know that whether we have collected the data from one sample or two samples or k sample, whether it is related or independent. That I can do. Now, once I have done that, I'll see how we'll go ahead with an example. Now, I have stress level. Stress level is an ordinal data. I want to check on before COVID times and after COVID times. So my measurement of one variable is ordinal. Data I am collecting 2 times from the sample, so that makes it 2 sample. This is a related sample. Why? Because the same sample is being approached before COVID time, and the same sample were approached or were asked the question after COVID times, how there has been a difference. Now this becomes a related sample, and the test that I can use is sign test and Wilcoxon matched pair test. Now I'll have the manual of the software, I'll use the steps of the software, and the result will come. If I have the marks, now I want to see whether there is any difference in IQ level of males and females. Now IQ is in numbers, so that will be interval and ratio data. It will be male and between males and females, right? So I have 2 sample, related or independent. It would be an independent sample, and the test that I can use is T test or Z test. And I can use these, these key or these short things that I can use to check whether my data is to be used is correct or not. And I just have to follow the steps of the software and see whether my results will come or not. Now, this is how I can go ahead with the results or with the software, and this is where the software will help us. So I don't have to remember the names also. Now, as I've said, that statistics has a role in determining the existing position of various things like per capita income, unemployment, population growth, a lot of things. So what is it is doing? It is applicable in almost every field of work that we are here. Commerce, trade, physics, botany, psychology, healthcare, information technology. It is used everywhere. Economics to follow policies and econometrics, finance to know risk, stock market derivatives. I've just taken some examples. Insurance, some probability, if this age group is there, which one is at risk or not. Operations for inventory control, for statistical quality control, Six Sigma method, HR for performance evaluation, IT for testing the software, data mining. Again, it's a combination of IT and statistics and is used in all fields of business. And this is how we can use it. So we can use sampling for market research, doing consumer survey. We can test hypothesis in pharmaceutical industry. We use it for clinical trials, testing a drug, clinical trials. So we use it for a lot of other purposes. Decision theory we can use in finance for investment and portfolio selection. Again, forecasting can be used in HRD, insurance, and marketing to see manpower planning, determining premium, demand forecasting, so we can use it. Then there are higher levels of statistics like discriminant analysis, again, which could be used in finance or marketing to check on credit risk analysis and customer profile. So as of now we can say that it is used in almost everything that we're doing today. We just do not know that the background or the things have come out from statistics. So what do we use statistics? This is a very nice quote that I saw, that statistics is used like a drunken man uses lamppost. He don't use it for support, right? He use it for illumination. And that is where we intend to use our statistics on our research, to illuminate our research, to give a new meaning to the research, to help us in creation of new wisdom and our new knowledge. And definitely software, learning software right now is very important. We can have a detailed analysis, we can have a detailed sessions. You can always go on for detailed sessions on software analysis, not a 1 hour's job. Definitely I've just tried to give a brush up on how software looks like and what all you can do with software. There are so many things that could be done. You don't have to remember those things, just the software and its manual is required to do it. So thank you very much for being a nice audience, and if there are any questions, just let me know.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge. Ma'am, two, three questions are there from Mr. Prashant Singh Tomar. The first question is, what is the accuracy of this SPC software?
The accuracy is fine. You can have the same results, and SPSS software, Systat, they all will give you the same results. So there won't be a major difference in the results. You can check those results with multiple softwares. I have done that. So there are no major differences with that.
Okay. And second is, in SSPS software, can we use SPC tools like Minitab?
No, we cannot use Minitab. I have not actually gone ahead with Minitab, but then I don't think it can be used. Generally, it's compatible more with Excel formats.
Okay. And the third one is, which software is more useful to students out of all these freely available softwares?
MyStat. I would recommend MyStat to them. They'll have, and the graphs are more beautiful and more representative and more colorful. And because they would mainly be dealing with their thesis, may much be requiring for their thesis and dissertation. So they would be doing more of graphical and table works. So that is more there in MyStat, and it's freely available. You can always download it. It's there on the app is also available on phone, and you can do it through phone also. So it does not require even a laptop. SPS is a much heavier version, and MyStat is a student friendly also, and the graphs are also very nicely presented and colorful also.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
everyone. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's webinar. I would also like to thank you, our HOD, Mr. Hemal Patel, sir, Principal Professor Jatin Vaidya, sir, and Academic Director Dr. Mahesh Bhatt, sir, and President of our university, Dr. Devanshu, sir, for continuous motivating and supporting us. We will also provide link for the feedback form so you can go through it and fill up the same. Thank you, everyone. Hemal sir, leave થઈ જાઓ ના.
हाँ मैडम.
Okay.